My beloved child, you've been carrying so much in silence, haven't you? Even when you smile, it trembles at the edges because of what's weighing you down inside. You think you've hidden your battles well, but I see them all. I see how your hands tremble when you're alone, and your thoughts race when the world goes quiet. I watch how you breathe shallowly when fear grips you, and how your eyes look for a light when the room feels darker than usual. You're not fooling me, child. I know exactly what you're pretending doesn't hurt anymore. I know what you avoid talking about because even saying the words out loud feels like opening a wound you're afraid won't close. You're trying to function like everything is fine, like you're strong and unshaken, but deep inside, you're begging for someone to stop and ask if you're truly okay. I've been watching that inner cry grow louder, more desperate. And while others walk past it, I won't. That's why I had to interrupt you today. That's why I'm here, now. There's no more time for delay or pretending. This is my intervention. I am the one who hears your unspoken words, who sees behind your forced laughter, and who walks through every room you pace in confusion. What you're hiding doesn't scare me, it draws me closer. You think this is the worst part of you, but to me, it's the part I want to rescue the most. I need you to hear this, right now, not later, because the longer you hold it in, the more your soul fractures under the pressure. Don't silence your pain another day. I didn't come to observe your breaking. I came to stop it before it spirals. You've cried in corners thinking no one noticed, but I noticed. I noticed when you said you were fine, but your voice cracked on the word. I noticed when you turned your face so no one would see the tears sliding down. I noticed every time you prayed for peace and wondered if I even heard. I did hear. I always have. And I've been preparing this exact moment to say, it's time to let me into that hidden room you never unlocked for anyone else, because I'm not here to judge you for the mess. I'm here to clean it, hold you through it, and lift the shame that's been shackled to your heart for far too long. There's no healing in hiding. There's no breakthrough in silence. And you don't have to keep acting like everything's okay when it's not. The mask you wear may fool people, but I'm the one who sees behind it. And I'm still standing here. I'm still choosing you. Not the polished version, not the pretending one, the real you. This is the moment I've been waiting for, and if you give me your full attention right now, I'll begin something in you that years of pain could never destroy. I'm not distant, I'm inches away. And I'm not passive, I'm pressing in because your future depends on what you do next. You don't have to carry this into tomorrow. Let me touch it now. I know you're scared. I know you're tired. But trust me, what I'm about to do and you will silence every lie that told you you had to suffer alone. And you haven't even seen what's about to be uncovered yet. Even while you go through the motions, something inside you is trembling louder than ever before. You've gotten good at managing your outside world, haven't you? Smiles on cue. Politeness on demand. Strength when others are looking. But internally, the pressure has been silently rising like waves hitting against a fragile shore. You're battling winds that no one else knows are there. The kind that whisper defeat into your mind at midnight. The kind that make you question if peace is even possible for you. You've learned how to survive by numbing what's real. But the storm you're carrying is reaching a point where no amount of distraction will quiet it. I'm not asking you to fake being okay anymore. I didn't create you to perform wellness while breaking beneath the surface. What you're facing doesn't need suppression, it needs surrender. The unrest, the agitation, the inability to find true rest no matter how much you sleep or escape, it's a signal, not a curse. That growing storm isn't there to punish you. It's trying to push you into the arms that can actually carry you. And that's why I had to interrupt you with this message. I'm not standing far away while you struggle, I've stepped into the eye of the storm with you. I'm holding the walls together while the winds try to tear you apart. I'm whispering peace over the inner chaos, not by removing all the external problems, but by giving you a deeper anchoring within your soul. Because the truth is, child, I never asked you to calm this storm by yourself. You were never meant to bear this kind of pressure on your own shoulders. You weren't created to wear masks until you forget who you are underneath them. That weight that's growing heavier is not your destiny, it's a warning. A holy one. It's showing you the cost of carrying what only I can lift. You're pretending to be stable, but I know what it feels like inside when the tears press against your eyes and you force them back with a shaky breath. I know how exhausted your mind has become from trying to keep up with expectations and fears and disappointments that keep stacking higher. You're functioning, yes, but you're not flourishing. And I didn't come just to keep you alive, I came to restore the life inside of you. The version of you that danced without fear. The one who believed in tomorrow. The one who didn't apologize for having hope. The one who wasn't always on the edge of breaking down. That person is not gone. They're buried under a storm of circumstances, but I'm here to resurrect them. That's why this moment matters. That's why I'm asking for your full attention, not later, not when things settle, but right now. Because the longer you wait, the more ground the storm tries to steal. And you've lost too much already. You've compromised joy to protect appearances. You've sacrificed peace just to keep moving forward. But I never asked for that kind of survival. I've always wanted you to live freely, fully, fearlessly. And that starts by letting me into the center of your unrest. Let me speak to the storm. Let me take over where your strength ends. You don't have to keep holding everything together. I'm the one who holds all things, including you. And as we move forward, I need you to understand something deeper still. There's a pressure you've been carrying that no one else fully understands. It's the quiet kind that doesn't scream but slowly strangles your peace. You feel it most when everything around you goes still, when the distractions fade and there's nothing left to muffle the ache pressing down on your soul. It's not just stress. It's not just exhaustion. It's a spiritual burden, an invisible heaviness that follows you from one room to another, from one task to the next, never letting you exhale without a trace of tension in your chest. I know how long you've tried to keep going with that invisible boulder strapped to your heart, hoping each day that maybe it would be lighter, maybe someone would notice, maybe it would just vanish on its own. But it hasn't. And it won't, because that weight isn't meant to be ignored or adapted to. It's meant to be released. And that release begins here. That's why I couldn't wait another moment. That's why I had to speak now. If I didn't, the very core of who you are would begin to fracture beneath the buildup. You've been holding in too much, for too long. And the danger isn't in your circumstances. The real danger is in what happens if you keep suppressing what needs to be surrendered. You're not weak for feeling overwhelmed. You're not broken for needing help. But if you keep pretending that you're fine, that you can carry this weight on your own, eventually it will silence the part of you that still believes in breakthrough. That's what I came to protect. I came to preserve the sacred part of you that still dares to hope, the fragile inner voice that hasn't given up yet but is growing fainter by the hour. That voice matters to me. You matter to me. And your capacity to keep going doesn't impress me more than your willingness to admit that you're tired. I'm not moved by your perfection, I'm moved by your surrender. I don't need your polished answers, your masked expressions, or your rehearsed prayers. I need your honesty. The real kind. The kind that admits, I'm not okay, and I don't want to fake it anymore. Because that confession is the key that opens the door to freedom. The weight on your chest wasn't meant to define your days. It wasn't placed there by me. But I will take it, if you will hand it over. Not just a part of it. All of it. Even the parts that feel too tangled or too heavy to articulate. Even the pieces that don't make sense yet. I know how to carry it. And more importantly, I know how to heal the part of you that got used to living with it. You weren't created to exist in survival mode. You were designed for restoration, for joy, for deep soul-level peace that doesn't evaporate when life gets loud. And that's why I need your attention now. Not tomorrow. Not when you feel ready. Right now, before another hour passes and the pressure convinces you that you're beyond help. You're not beyond reach. You're not too far gone. I am closer than the next breath you take. and I'm already reaching in to lift what you thought you had to keep carrying alone. You can't fix what's crushing you by yourself. But I can. And what I want to do next will surprise you, because it won't just relieve the pressure, it will rewrite the entire story that told you it was normal to live like this. So stay with me, child, because what I'm about to say next will uncover something you didn't even realize was weighing you down before the foundations of your life were even formed. I embedded gifts, assignments, and divine appointments into your journey time perfectly to align with seasons you would not yet understand. But now, as one of those seasons approaches its crucial turning point, I need to alert you. You've grown so accustomed to navigating chaos that you've unintentionally stepped past the very provisions I've set in place to strengthen you. Not because you don't care, not because you're lazy, but because distraction has dulled your sensitivity. You've been looking for rescue from the outside, when inside your environment, I've already positioned resources, people, and revelations waiting to be noticed. There are divine opportunities hidden in the ordinary, and if you're not fully present, they'll appear like background noise. I didn't place them in your path randomly. I orchestrated them with care, threads of destiny waiting to be activated through your awareness and obedience. This is why I had to stop you mid-motion. This is why I couldn't wait for a more convenient time. What you overlook now may be the very instruction that was meant to shift your entire trajectory. You've prayed for answers, but those answers were wrapped in situations you deemed unimportant. You've asked for direction, but the signs I placed were subtle, embedded in moments you moved past too quickly. I need to wake your spiritual eyes. I need to sharpen your attention. The clock hasn't run out yet, but it's closer than you think. I'm not saying this to scare you, I'm saying it to awaken you. Not everything that looks familiar is meant to be dismissed. I've placed new strategies in old surroundings. I've sent confirmation through unexpected voices. But the weight you're carrying has made you numb to the nudges. And if you don't slow down and listen differently, you'll miss the very turn that was designed to carry you out of what you thought was a permanent valley. I'm not calling you to chase after big signs, I'm calling you to look again at what I've already set before you. There's a shift waiting on your recognition. There's a door within reach, but it responds to spiritual sensitivity, not panic. I've placed provision near your feet, not out of reach. But you must tune your perception away from the noise of survival and into the whisper of my spirit. You're not as empty as you feel, you're just disconnected from what I've already assigned to your care. The very miracle you thought you needed from afar is already blooming near you, but you've been so focused on escaping the pressure that you haven't noticed the breakthrough rising quietly in the background. Let me reorient your sight. Let me show you what's been there all along, but looked too small to matter. I never hide purpose in glamour, I hide it in obedience, in stillness, in the overlooked corners. And now I'm pulling back the veil. I need you to shift your posture from racing to recognizing, from grasping to gathering. Because what I'm about to reveal won't come with fanfare, it will come with clarity. And clarity will feel like peace, not noise. But you won't receive it if you're constantly looking past me in search of something louder. I need you to go back to the last instruction I gave. I need you to check again. There's something you left behind that holds the key to what's next. Time is not against you, but it is moving. And I'm urging you, don't ignore what I've already blessed simply because it didn't look impressive at first glance. The breakthrough isn't coming, it's already here. But your awareness will determine your access. Stay close now. What I say next will unlock what's been blocked, and I won't let you miss it if you stay tuned to my voice. You've been faithful in your asking, crying out with sincerity, often in the dark when no one else heard. Your words have filled the quiet corners of rooms where you knelt with desperation. Your tears have soaked pillows and fallen silently behind closed doors, and every word you've whispered, every plea, every longing I have received. But now, the answer you seek is not coming in the way you expect, and that's why I need you to stop striving for a moment and simply lean in. You're looking for me in the thunder, but I'm speaking in a whisper. You're expecting motion, but I'm bringing revelation through stillness. I know you're used to answers wrapped in movement, open doors, sudden clarity. visible shifts. But this time, I'm speaking in a language that doesn't depend on what your eyes can detect. This time, my response is buried in silence, clothed in calm, hidden in peace you'll only feel when you stop trying to interpret everything through effort. I haven't denied you, I'm directing you. But if you continue to expect me only in ways I've moved before, you'll miss the new sound I'm releasing in this season. You've prayed earnestly, and I honor your voice. But now it's my turn to speak, and I need you to stop filling the space with assumptions and fears and start giving me room to deposit understanding. I'm not being quiet to punish you, I'm creating space so that when I do speak, the volume of my voice won't be drowned by the noise of your mind. You've been running in circles looking for signs, but the direction is coming through alignment, not repetition. I'm shifting the way I reveal myself to you because where I'm taking you requires a different kind of trust. Not the kind that leans on familiarity, but the kind that surrenders the right to define how things should unfold. I am not late. I am precise. And the way I'm responding now will train you to hear me not only in answers but in intimacy. You want me to show up in the storm with dramatic deliverance, but I'm already sitting next to you with quiet counsel. I'm teaching you the rhythm of my heartbeat. I'm inviting you to learn my nearness, not just my power. This is the shift, this is the moment where listening becomes more powerful than ask you, where stillness becomes strategy, where quietness becomes a sword. You've spoken to me with passion. Now let me train your ears to hear strategy between each breath. Here's something I'm revealing about your purpose that can't be shouted, it can only be received by one who is willing to wait without panic. Your prayers didn't go unheard, they opened the door for this conversation. But now I need your posture to match your petitions. I need you to rest not because everything is finished yet, but because I'm working in ways you haven't considered. I'm aligning people behind the scenes. I'm untangling delays that were set up to confuse you. I'm orchestrating events with divine sequence. But I can't fully unveil the plan if your focus is still locked on what hasn't moved. You've been checking constantly for signs, for updates, for proof, but proof will follow peace, not pressure. So breathe and shift from pursuit to presence. This is not the time to act, this is the time to absorb. Let me pour into you what hustle has drained. Let me refresh your discernment so that when I do say move, you'll walk boldly with clarity, not question marks. I'm doing something new in you, and it begins right here, not with striving, but with stillness. And as you sit with me, I'm going to show you something next that will completely change the way you've been viewing this entire situation. I know you've been interpreting the stillness around you as my distance, as if I've stepped away or gone quiet out of frustration, but that's not the truth. My nearness is not always announced with thunder. Sometimes, it comes wrapped in a silence so deep, it invites you to truly notice me. What you're calling silence is actually space, intentional, sacred space I created for you to pause everything else and realize how often your ears are tuned to the chaos instead of my calm. I didn't leave you. I quieted the distractions. I silenced the false affirmations. I muted the noise that kept pretending to be direction, so that what remains is only what's real. You've mistaken that reduction as abandonment, when it's actually alignment. I'm drawing you into an encounter that doesn't compete for your attention, it waits for it. I don't raise my voice over your anxieties. I wait for the moment you lower their volume. And right now, child, that moment has arrived. You've reached the edge of your performance. You've exhausted the methods that used to bring clarity. And now you're standing in the one place where you can't rely on anything but me. That's not a punishment, it's an invitation. When everything else grows silent, what speaks next matters most. And I want that voice to be mine. I'm not ignoring you. I'm inviting you to learn to discern. This season isn't about noise, it's about depth. The deeper you go, the quieter it becomes. Not because I've retreated, but because you've stepped past the shallow things. You've moved beyond surface-level comforts and reached a place where my presence isn't flashy, it's foundational. I'm not shouting in this season because you've matured into a place where whispers guide more powerfully than volume ever could. My silence is full of intention. And the quiet, I'm showing you what you've depended on too much. In the quiet, I'm dismantling false security and building something immovable in your spirit. I don't want you to just hear me, I want you to recognize me, even when nothing else confirms what I've said. That's what faith actually is. Not just confidence when the signs are loud, but stability when nothing seems to echo what I promised. I need your heart anchored in my presence, not my performance. If you base your trust on how often I speak audibly, then you'll question me every time I guide differently. But if you learn to find me in the stillness, nothing will ever shake you again. You think the silence means I'm far, but look again. I've been closer than your own breath. I've been sitting beside you in every quiet car ride, every empty hallway, every sleepless hour. You wanted thunder, but I gave you presence. You asked for clarity, but I gave you closeness. And it's in this closeness that I'm forming a version of you that doesn't panic in uncertainty, doesn't beg for signs, doesn't crumble under tension. I'm shaping a child who recognizes my peace even when there's no applause, no crowd, no confirmation. This silence is forming steel in your bones and fire in your heart. Don't mislabel it. This is the sound of me pulling you deeper. You're walking into a season where peace will speak louder than proof, and you'll walk through closed doors others are too noisy to even notice. Stay right here with me, because what I reveal next in this stillness will answer what your loudest prayers couldn't put into words. There comes a point where hints are no longer enough, where nudges and confirmations have done their part, and the weight of your calling demands clarity that cannot be misunderstood. That moment is now. I've been placing breadcrumbs along your path through situations that made you pause, through conversations that stirred something deeper, through moments that felt strangely aligned. You felt it. You sensed it. But you brushed it off as coincidence, or you hesitated, wondering if it was really me. You've been so hungry for a definitive answer that you missed the layers I've been weaving all around you. I used voices you didn't expect. I allowed deceptions that were disguised as divine redirections. I closed certain paths so you'd look again in the right direction. But now, I'm not waiting on you to decode the signs. I'm stepping into the center of your confusion with a voice that leaves no room for doubt. You don't need to question whether this moment is me. I am not speaking through the noise anymore. I'm coming through the silence, breaking it open with unmistakable authority. You've been circling the same thoughts, asking me to confirm what I've already been trying to show you through peace, resistance, and divine discomfort. I used delay to reveal what wasn't ready. I used longing to expose what couldn't satisfy. I even used quiet seasons to stretch your discernment. But now, I'm not sending another echo, I'm speaking myself. This isn't indirect. This isn't secondhand. This is me, directly stepping into your awareness to confront the places you've kept locked away from truth. I'm here because too much is at stake for you to keep hesitating. I'm here because your destiny cannot afford any more of your indecision. You've asked me to take control, now I'm doing just that, and it won't always feel comfortable. I'll be moving things abruptly. I'll be removing people quickly. I'll be shifting your environment in ways that don't come with early explanations. But know this, every change will be born from this conversation. You don't need a sign when the sender himself is speaking. I am not far. I am not vague. I am not uncertain about what I've planned for you. And I will not allow your fear to keep holding you in place while heaven is ready to act. This is a now moment. What was once optional has now become essential. I'm calling you into a higher level of obedience, and that will require quicker response, deeper trust, and unwavering focus. I'm not doing things the old way. I'm not revisiting what I've already removed. I'm moving forward, and you must decide if you're moving with me or staying behind, with your doubt. I will always love you, but my assignments require your participation. You can't receive what I've prepared while still entertaining what I've already asked you to leave. That's why I had to break the silence. That's why I couldn't wait for your timeline. I'm not waiting for conditions to be perfect. I'm stepping into your now to shift it with my voice. And my voice does not return void. When I speak, mountains move. When I speak, Confusion flees. When I speak, doors open that no hand can close. So hear me clearly. I am speaking to you, not your neighbor, not someone more qualified. You. I'm not interested in rehearsed prayers anymore. I want real conversation, real surrender, real alignment. So get ready, because what I say next will not only shift your heart, it will prepare the way for something greater than you imagined. You're standing at a fragile intersection right now, and most of the world wouldn't even notice the significance of the moment you're in. But I do. I see the invisible crossroads forming beneath your decisions, the ones you've been quietly weighing, rehearsing in your thoughts, keeping close to your heart. There's something you've nearly decided on, something you've been leaning toward because it seems like the only option left, or maybe because you're just too tired to keep hoping for a better answer. But hear me. If you move without me right now, you'll shift into something that looks right but leads far from what I designed. This next choice has more weight than you think. It may appear small, simple, or harmless, but the ripple effect will be long and loud. That's why I'm speaking with such urgency. That's why I'm meeting you right here, right now. Because I love you too much to let you walk into something that looks like relief but will birth regret. I'm not warning you to scare you. I'm stepping in to protect your future from a premature compromise. You've been under pressure to act, pressure to resolve, pressure to choose quickly just to stop the discomfort. But I didn't call you to react, I called you to respond to my spirit. And my spirit is not rushed. It doesn't panic. It doesn't force. It speaks with precision, and right now, it's urging you to wait on my instruction before you take the step you're planning. There's nothing wrong with your desire for change. I placed that restlessness in you for a reason. But what you're about to pursue without me will cost you more than you're prepared to pay. That offer that looks tempting, it's not coming from the right source. The path that feels easier, it's not the route I've carved for your growth. That person you're leaning toward, trusting with your next move, they don't carry my voice. Not every opportunity is a blessing. Some are distractions grasped as solutions. Some are exits that lead back into captivity. I see what's coming on the other side of that decision, and I'm here now to tell you to slow down, to stop, to seek me fully, not just for permission, but for perspective. Because what I want to give you isn't just a green light, I want to give you insight. I want to show you not only what to do, but why it matters. I want to uncover the hidden motives in what's pulling you so strongly right now. I want to open your eyes to what your emotions have been trying to rush past. I want to preserve the promise I've been preparing behind the scenes, the one you'll miss if you settle for the quicker route. You see, there's something just beyond this fork in your path, something miraculous, something tailor-made, but if you move too fast, it won't be aligned in time. So pause. Come back to me. Let me recalibrate your discernment. I'm not far from you. I'm standing right beside the choice, asking you to hand me the pen before you write the next line of your story. Because if you trust me with this moment, I'll take you places your anxious decisions never could. What I'm building is not temporary. What I'm planning is not based on emotion, it's based on eternal design. And you're closer than you know to walking into a chapter that finally makes sense of everything you've endured. But it begins with one thing: obedience. Listen closely, child. Because what I speak next will place your feet exactly where they were always meant to stand. You've been pouring your energy into reopening something I've already sealed, and I can no longer watch you exhaust yourself trying to force what was never meant to be sustained. I see you standing in front of that familiar threshold, replaying what once felt secure, what once seemed promising. You've been convincing yourself that maybe, with just a little more patience, with one more attempt, it will finally swing wide and give you what you thought you needed. But here's the truth you haven't wanted to confront. That door didn't shut to punish you, it closed to protect you. You're not being kept out, you're being redirected. You're not being overlooked, you're being preserved. I saw what would have happened had it remained open, and I had to act for your future's sake. You've mistaken its closure as a sign of failure, but it was actually a divine boundary drawn by my hand. And I need you to stop seeing it as rejection. It was my intervention. It was me stepping in to say, "This ends here, because where I'm taking you cannot be built upon what tried to break you." That door was connected to something unstable, an environment, a relationship, a pursuit that could not sustain the weight of your calling. If I had allowed it to stay accessible, you would have stayed loyal to what would have eventually drained the very purpose I placed inside you. You weren't meant to stay tethered to what couldn't grow with you. I didn't close it out of anger, I closed it out of mercy. I didn't slam it, I sealed it gently, with a grieving heart, because I knew how much of yourself you had invested. I saw how much hope you poured into it, how many dreams were built around it, and I knew letting it go would feel like loss. But sometimes, release is the beginning of restoration. Sometimes, the things you think you're losing are only making room for what I've kept hidden until you were ready. I never intended that closed door to become your obsession. I never asked you to stand in front of it day after day, wondering why it won't budge. I'm calling you away from it now, not just physically, but mentally, emotionally, spiritually. Because while you're fixated on what's not opening, you're missing the new path I've been constructing quietly behind you. Here's another door. One that hasn't drawn your attention yet because it doesn't look like what you expected. It's not flashy. It's not familiar. But it's mine. And it leads to a space you've never walked in, one full of peace, clarity, and alignment you've been craving. But to reach it, you must turn. You must stop knocking on what doesn't respond, and start listening for the gentle sound of my voice leading you elsewhere. I'm not in the past, child. I'm not in the echo of what used to be. I'm standing ahead, calling you forward. There's no healing in begging for what I've already moved you beyond. It's time to grieve it, bless it, and walk away, because your next chapter cannot be written if you keep rereading the same painful page. You're not walking away from something good, you're walking towards something greater. You just haven't seen it yet. But I have. I've seen the people who will welcome the real you, not the version you had to shrink. I've seen the joy that won't require compromise. I've seen the opportunities that won't demand your identity as payment. And it's all waiting, but only if you stop turning the handle on what I've already locked. Let go now. There's something I need to reveal next that can only be shown once you step away from what refuses to align with what I've anointed before your next step takes root. I must intervene not with fear, but with fierce love. Because I see you leaning into something that looks right on the surface, feels acceptable to your emotions, and even seems reasonable to your logic. But it is not of me. There's a path opening that carries an invitation, a temptation wrapped in false comfort. But it doesn't bear my fingerprints. It wasn't birthed in prayer. It didn't grow from obedience. It sprouted from pressure, exhaustion, and the urge to finally feel some kind of relief. But child, relief is not the same as release. Just because something feels better than your current struggle doesn't mean it was sent to heal you. You've been teetering on the edge of a decision, one that promises to end your waiting but carries a cost far greater than the delay you're desperate to escape. And I can't let you step forward without telling you the truth. The atmosphere around this next move is poisoned with compromise. It demands parts of you that I told you to protect. It requires you to lower your spiritual discernment in exchange for temporary clarity. And if you go that way, it will entangle you in things I've already set you free from. You've asked me for progress, but this isn't progress, it's detour dressed up as destiny. The people involved won't show you the full picture. The opportunity won't expose its weight until you're too far in. But I see it all now, before a single commitment is made. And so I'm standing in your way not as a roadblock, but as a rescuer. You're thinking of settling for something I never authored. It may look appealing. It may solve a short-term need. But it does not carry the longevity of my blessing. I'm not holding you back to hurt you. I'm holding you back to protect the version of you I've been preparing all along, the one that doesn't trade conviction for convenience, the one that doesn't seek shelter in false security, the one that knows my silence never equals absence. There's something deeper at stake here than what's obvious. If you step through that door, You won't just be making a decision, you'll be creating a spiritual attachment to something I've been working to keep you detached from. And that attachment will delay more than you know. It will require me to pull you out of a trap you could have avoided entirely if you would just pause and ask me one more time, Lord, is this where you want me? I am not a God of confusion. And if your peace has been shaky, if your spirit has been uneasy, if your clarity has been inconsistent, it's not because you lack wisdom, it's because my spirit is warning you. I've been tugging gently at your heart, hoping you would slow down long enough to feel the discomfort I placed there for your protection. And now, I'm not whispering. I'm pleading. Don't enter what I never sent. Don't sign what I never endorsed. Don't join what I never blessed. You are too close to breakthrough to get entangled in something that will only create delay wrapped in disguise. I have something better, something you haven't imagined, something that won't require you to sacrifice your discernment, your purity, your peace. It's coming. But this step, it's not the one. And if you trust me now, if you pause right here, I'll shift your eyes from what looks convenient to what carries covenant. I will reroute you so gently you won't even feel the loss, only the gain. Because what I want to give next will anchor you deeper than anything you've been chasing. So stay still. What I speak next will redirect everything you thought you needed every time you assumed I was far. I was actually the closest I've ever been. I didn't leave when the silence got loud. I didn't disappear when the prayers felt unanswered. I didn't move away when your faith wavered. I stayed. Widely. Faithfully. Not because I wasn't listening, but because I was waiting for you to reach the place where your walls would finally soften and your heart would crack open wide enough for me to enter in the way I've always longed to. I wasn't watching from a distance. I was in the room. I saw the way your shoulders sank when the day became too heavy. I saw you press your palms into your eyes, trying to stop tears from escaping. I watched you go through motions you didn't have the strength for. And through it all, I didn't flinch, didn't retreat, didn't grow weary of your questions or your silence. I was beside you, closer than your breath, closer than your own awareness. I was there in the dark, and I never took my eyes off you, not for a second. You thought I had pulled away because I stopped responding the way I used to. But that wasn't absence, it was maturity. I was training your spirit to recognize me in ways you'd never needed before. You're no longer being led by feelings alone, you're learning how to sense me in stillness, how to recognize my nearness when nothing seems obvious. And now, right now, you've finally reached the quiet where I can speak directly to the deepest part of you. You don't need a crowd. You don't need a confirmation from someone else. You just need this moment, raw, sacred, unfiltered. I waited for it. Not because I needed time to love you more, but because you needed time to trust me differently. You've grown in ways you haven't even seen yet. You've been stretched in silence, refined in waiting, transformed in what you thought was spiritual dryness. But nothing was wasted. The moments you thought were pointless were actually sacred groundwork. The days you thought were lost were seasons I used to detox your heart from counterfeit peace. And now, here we are. The moment I've been waiting for. The moment where you don't have to perform. You don't have to pretend to be stronger than you are. You don't need to explain why you're tired, why you've doubted, or why you almost gave up. I already know. And I'm not disappointed, I'm proud. Because you're still here. And being here means you're still open. You're still reachable. You're still mine. And that's all I've ever wanted, not perfection, just permission. Permission to come close. Permission to sit with you. Permission to rewrite the parts of your story that pain tried to hijack. You don't need to earn this moment. It's always been yours. I paid for it in full with love that can't be measured and grace that doesn't expire. All I ask is that you don't run from me anymore. Not when you feel unworthy. Not when you feel unsure. Not when you feel like you failed. That's when I want you to run to me faster. I'm not like the others who left when you were at your worst. I come closer. I draw near. I settled in. Because I'm not interested in your cleaned-up version. I want all of you. The overwhelmed you. The doubting you. The hopeful you. The scared you. I came for every piece. And now that you're still long enough to hear me clearly, I'm going to begin revealing what I've been preparing during every quiet, misunderstood season you walk through. So stay here, child. What I speak next will finally make sense of what you thought had no meaning. I know it feels like everything is closing in at once. The deadlines, the expectations, the unspoken responsibilities pressing against your chest like bricks stacked without warning. You've been absorbing tension from places that were never yours to carry, picking up the weight of others, while still trying to manage the storm inside your own mind. I see the exhaustion behind your smile, the moments where your hands shake when no one's watching, the way your breathing shifts when your thoughts race too quickly. The pressure is real. I do not dismiss it. But I also see what pressure can't see. I see the strength I planted in you before the pressure even began. You're not a fragile vessel on the edge of breaking. You're a carefully forged creation, strengthened by every fire you thought would consume you. What the outside forces failed to recognize is that within you burns a flame they didn't start and can't extinguish. I put it there. I ignited it when I formed you. That flame is why you haven't given up. That inner core of resilience, of grace, of unexplainable survival. It's not random. It's the power of my spirit residing within you, waiting not for the absence of pressure, but for the moment you finally recognize it's there. You see, pressure doesn't just test you, it reveals you. And in this hour, what's being drawn out of you is not weakness, but potential you forgot existed. When you feel surrounded, remember this. You are not cornered, you are being positioned. The tension you feel is not evidence of abandonment. It's a sign that you're in transition. You're not being punished, you're being prepared. And the difference between collapse and breakthrough will be determined not by the size of the storm, but by your willingness to lean into the strength I've already placed in you. That strength doesn't look like pretending to be okay. It doesn't mean denying your emotions or silencing your need. It looks like acknowledging the weight while choosing to trust the one who holds the scales. I haven't asked you to be unshakable on your own. I've invited you to draw from my presence so that what shakes around you doesn't destroy what stands within you. Yes, the pressure is increasing, but so is your capacity. With every battle you face, I'm stretching your spirit to contain more of my wisdom, more of my peace, more of my courage. And that stretching hurts, but it's not harm. It's expansion. It's the making of someone who won't crack under confrontation, someone who can carry glory without dropping it under fear. Do not be afraid of what's surrounding you. The enemy wants you to think you're overwhelmed so you never realize you're actually overtaking. He's hoping you forget who's inside you so you settle for surviving instead of stepping into supernatural endurance. But I won't let that happen. That's why I'm speaking now, because it's time you stop letting pressure define your identity and start letting my promises reawaken your authority. What's in you is not fragile, it's fortified. It's rooted. It's eternal. And now, in this very moment, I'm breathing fresh power into the parts of you that were growing weary. I'm reigniting what stress tried to smother. I'm lifting the heaviness and replacing it with divine stamina. You will not fold. You will not faint. You will not be crushed by what's around you, because what's within you is greater, unstoppable, unshakable, unbreakable. And now that you've remembered who you are in me, I need to tell you something even deeper about what's happening around you. You've carried wounds from people who were supposed to protect you. Words spoken in carelessness that landed like arrows. Actions that tore through your trust and left you questioning not just others, but yourself. You've wrestled with betrayal, rejection, and the quiet ache of being misunderstood. And through it all, you kept wondering, will this define me? Will this be how my story ends? And no, child. Not even close. Those who tried to tear you down do not hold the pen to your purpose. Their cruelty may have slowed your steps, but it cannot cancel your calling. I saw it all, the moments they doubted you, mocked your dreams, twisted your intentions, or left when you needed them most. I was there in every moment you stood alone after they walked away. And now, I'm not just healing the wound they left. I'm reclaiming the part of your future they tried to damage. They may have spoken louder, but their voice is not final. I am. And what I'm speaking over you now is redemption so complete, it will silence every whisper of shame they left behind. You've lived long enough trying to make peace with the pieces they broke. But I'm not here to patch you up. I'm here to restore what was never theirs to ruin. Your betrayal doesn't cancel my blessing. Your absence doesn't subtract your value. You've been measuring your worth by how others have treated you, but I define your worth by the price I paid for you. And that price wasn't cheap. It wasn't casual. It was everything. And I gave it willingly because I knew that one day you would need this moment, a divine confrontation, not with your past, but with your true identity. You are not what they said. You are not the failure they implied. You are not the burden they made you feel like. You are mine. Chosen. Teen. Eld. And I have the final word. The ones who walked out don't get to witness the glory that's coming. The ones who doubted your potential won't recognize the strength you're about to display. And it won't be to prove anything, it will simply be the evidence of what I've been doing in you while they weren't watching. I know you still feel the sting. I know part of you wants to understand why they acted the way they did. But you don't need their apology to access your next level. You don't need their approval to step into what's already been reserved for you. I am your defender. I saw the lies, the manipulation, the unfair treatment. And I didn't just record it, I'm responding to it. Not with vengeance, but with vindication. I'm lifting you so high that even your pain will look up in awe. Not to glorify your suffering, but to display how I turn sorrow into strength. Let me be the one to handle what hurt you. Let me be the one to repay what was stolen. Because what I'm releasing over your life isn't just healing, it's justice. It's the restoration of everything they tried to dim. And as you step forward, I'm assigning you a boldness that no wound can silence. The fear they left behind is being replaced by authority. The insecurity they stirred is being overtaken by confidence rooted in me. You're not a victim, you're a vessel. A carrier of power that cannot be erased by abandonment or betrayal. I'm not finished, child. In fact, I'm just beginning. The next thing I show you will prove once and for all that no person has the right to define what only I created. So keep listening, because what I'm about to say next will set in motion a reversal they never saw coming. There's a shift just ahead, a moment so divinely designed, it carries the answer to years of waiting, weeping, and wrestling. You can't see it yet, not fully. That's why discouragement has been trying to speak louder than destiny. That's why the pressure to quit has been unusually intense. Because the enemy knows what you don't, how close you are to the release I've orchestrated for you. And if he can't destroy the promise, he'll try to convince you to walk away before it arrives. But hear me clearly. Now is not the time to shrink back. Now is not the time to second-guess what I planted. You're closer than your feelings suggest. You're further along than your fears admit. You're right on the edge of something you've prayed for when no one else was watching. And the resistance you're feeling is not confirmation of failure, it's evidence of proximity. Hell doesn't fight what isn't threatening its plans. And you, child, have become a threat to darkness because you didn't give up when everything around you told you it was pointless to keep going. You held on. You believe it just enough to stay. And that mustard seed of faith has shaken foundations in the spirit realm. I'm telling you this now because you've been tempted to settle, to compromise, to say, maybe I misheard God, or maybe I'm just not meant for this. Those thoughts aren't yours, they've been sent to distract you one final time before I open what no one can shut. Don't take detours at the doorstep. Don't negotiate with doubt when the promise is within reach. You're standing in a fragile place, a hallway between what was and what's next, and it's uncomfortable, stretching, unfamiliar. But it's holy. This between spaces where endurance is refined and identity is cemented. I know it feels like nothing is moving. I know it seems like everyone else is advancing while you remain in waiting. But child, what I'm building in you isn't common. It requires more depth, more precision, More testing not because you're behind, but because you're chosen. And chosen vessels carry weighty assignments. Your life is not delayed, it's being protected. Your breakthrough is not missing, it's being timed with divine perfection. And just because you can't see the finish line doesn't mean I haven't already marked it with your name. I'm speaking this to you now, urgently, because you're standing at a spiritual fork. One path will lead you forward into everything I've spoken. The other will offer the illusion of peace, faster results, easier routes, fewer battles, but it's counterfeit. It's a version of your future stripped of power, detached from my presence. Don't chase temporary relief and forfeit eternal reward. You're not being tested for torment, you're being refined for rulership. You've come too far to turn back. Don't make lifelong decisions based on temporary emotions. This weariness is not permanent. This fog will lift. And when it does, you'll see how close you truly were. Keep pressing. Keep worshiping. Keep choosing obedience over comfort. Heaven is not silent, it's positioning. I've assigned angels to go before you. I've placed people on your path who will appear when the time is right. I've prepared the resources, the connections, the favor, all of it waiting for your next step of trust. And while you're tempted to pause, to back away, to lower your expectations, I'm urging you lean in harder. Declare my word over your situation even when it contradicts everything you feel. I am not teasing you with possibility. I'm leading you toward fulfillment. The pain you're feeling is not a sign to stop, its labor pains before delivery. And if you keep walking, even one more step, you'll see what I've been hiding in the silence, the manifestation of a promise too sacred to be rushed. So take a breath. Steady your heart. Because what I'm about to do next will confirm why I asked you to wait just a little longer. Right now, there's a war for your focus, and I need to draw your attention back before the noise around you becomes louder than my truth. The enemy doesn't need to destroy you, to delay you. He only needs to confuse you long enough that you start questioning what you already know deep inside. That's why everything feels louder lately. That's why you've been flooded with thoughts that don't sound like me, voices of accusation, hopelessness, discouragement, all tangled in a fast-moving current trying to pull you out of alignment. I see how hard it's been to hear clearly. The constant swirl of opinions, the spiritual static, the moments where you can't tell if it's your own fear talking or something darker pressing in. It's not by accident. He's targeting your clarity, because if he can cloud that, he can steal your momentum. And if he can delay your obedience, he knows he can block the release I've been preparing just beyond your next step. That's why I'm speaking now, urgently, unmistakably, directly. Not with riddles, not with subtle signs, but with authority. Because I refuse to let confusion have the final say over your direction. I refuse to let deception steal the clarity I died to give you. You were not created to live in constant mental warfare. You were never meant to survive by guessing if you're in my will or not. That is not what walking with me looks like. You are my child, and my sheep hear my voice. I am not the author of chaos. I don't hide myself from you. But I do require you to tune out everything that doesn't reflect me. And right now, that means you need to break agreement with some voices that have no right to shape your thoughts. That inner critic that keeps telling you you're behind. Not me. That fear that keeps convincing you to hold back when I've called you to move forward. Not me. That shame that keeps dragging you into memories I've already redeemed. That's not from my kingdom. And every time you entertain those whispers, even silently, they build walls around your faith. That's what the enemy wants, to keep you reactive, distracted, and spiritually fatigued. But I'm calling you into a new level of discernment. A level where peace is your compass, not panic. Where my voice doesn't have to compete to be heard. I'm not going to shout over the chaos, I'm going to train your spirit to silence it. Because this next part of your journey requires sharpness. Not performance, not busyness, clarity. The kind that comes from stillness with me. The kind that isn't swayed by circumstances or swamped by noise. I want to retrain your ears to hear what is holy. I want to detox your mind from the lies it absorbed during seasons of spiritual exhaustion. I want to cleanse your atmosphere so fully that when the enemy speaks again, his voice will sound foreign to your soul. But to do that, I need your full surrender. Not just your heart, your attention. Shut the door to the narrative that keeps looping in your thoughts. Break up with the assumptions you've made out of fear. Cancel the inner agreements that were formed in trauma and not in truth. I'm ready to speak, but I won't share space with lies. You've heard them long enough. Now it's my turn. And what I say will do more than comfort you, it will rewire you. It will realign your thinking. It will restore your confidence. It will anchor your discernment so deeply that no wave of doubt will be able to uproot it again. I'm speaking not just to answer your questions, but to protect your next season from sabotage. And what I'm about to say next will expose the lie that's been holding your future hostage. Not everything that appears stable is divinely ordained. Some roads look smooth only because they were paved by compromise. And the path you're eyeing right now, yes, the one that seems like it would finally offer relief, predictability, and control, isn't what it claims to be. I've been watching your heart lean toward it. I felt the way you're trying to convince yourself that it makes sense, that it's probably good enough, that it's time to just choose something and be done with the waiting. But that isn't discernment speaking, that's weariness. That's frustration with how long it's taken, with how uncertain everything still feels. I understand why you're tempted to step onto that path. It promises less resistance. It offers instant validation. It even sounds wise when spoken out loud. But child, wisdom is not found in what's convenient, it's found in what's consecrated. And this path, it's not holy. It doesn't carry my breath. It's bait, dressed as an escape. And what lies further down that road is not peace but entanglement. A slow drift from purpose. A series of delays wrapped in routine. It won't crash you immediately, but it will slowly numb the part of you that hears me clearly. It will lull you into a false sense of direction, keeping you busy enough to feel like you're moving forward while stealing the fire I placed inside you. That's why I'm speaking now. That's why I couldn't stay quiet tonight. Because if you take that step, it won't just cost you time, it will cost you alignment. I need you to hear me clearly. I'm not in that auction. It might seem more predictable, but it wasn't birthed in my spirit. It might feel easier, but I didn't open that door. I won't bless what I didn't assign. And I won't let you settle quietly when you were created to live boldly. You're not a wanderer, you're a warrior. You don't need to default to what makes sense in the moment. You need to lean into what carries eternal weight. That other road doesn't look dangerous because it caters to your comfort. But I never called you to build your future around comfort, I called you to build it on obedience. I'm not trying to confuse you. I'm protecting you. I'm rerouting you, not to punish you but to preserve what I've been preparing. There's a different way, one that may look less defined but is fully designed by my hand. It requires more trust. It doesn't promise the same applause, but it will lead you straight into the life your spirit has been aching for. You were not created for shortcuts. You were not crafted to compromise. A temptation to just pick something and move on is not my voice, it's pressure, masked as strategy. Don't bite. Don't build on what I've not approved. I have something better, something purer, something sustainable. But you won't find it while trying to rationalize the path that's easiest to explain. You'll find it when you return to the altar, when you silence the need to impress, when you surrender your timeline, your plans, your need for control, and ask me again, where do you want me to go? That's when I'll speak. That's when I'll unveil the next step, not 10, not 20, just the next one. And it will be enough, because I'll be in it. And when I'm in it, you won't need to wonder if you made the right choice, you'll know. So stop looking for what seems manageable. Start watching for what carries my mark. What I reveal next will not only reroute your steps, it will restore your confidence that I am still guiding every detail. There hasn't been a single drop of sorrow from your eyes that fell unnoticed. Not one sigh has slipped past me. and the places where no one could see you break when your voice was quiet, but your heart was loud. I was there. You've wept behind closed doors, in lonely corners, in the middle of the night when the world around you slept and you felt like you were drowning in waves of emotion you couldn't explain. You buried pain beneath responsibility, wore strength like armor, and smiled through moments when all you really wanted was someone to stop and say, "I see you. I saw you. I still do. I saw the way you held your breath to keep the tears from spilling. I saw you press your hand against your chest to steady the ache inside. I saw you wrestle with whether your prayers even mattered anymore. But what you didn't realize is that your quiet agony echoed loudly in my heart. Your cries reached me, not as background noise, not as forgotten murmurs, but as precious cries of my beloved. And now I'm responding not with shallow comfort, but with purpose. I didn't ignore your sorrow. I stored it. I turned each tear into a seed. And where the world only saw your breakdown, I was already designing your breakthrough. Because pain, when placed in my hands, is never wasted. I know you've grown tired of waiting for meaning to emerge from the chaos. I know you've asked me, again and again, why did this happen? Why did they leave? Why did I have to go through that? And while I didn't cause all of it, I'm going to use every bit of it. I'm going to weave together the threads of your pain into a tapestry so redemptive, even you will stand in awe of what I've done. What broke you didn't bury you, and now it's becoming the foundation for what I'm building next. You're about to see how your most private moments of despair were sacred ground. You're about to discover how every tear you cried in solitude watered the soil for a harvest of strength, wisdom, and authority. Because I don't just heal, I restore. And I don't just comfort, I transform. What once caused you to tremble will become your testimony. The same nights that made you question your worth will become the backdrop for my faithfulness to shine brighter. I'm going to raise you up not just so you can say you survive it, but so you can carry healing to others walking through what you once endured. You haven't been forgotten. You've been being formed. In the fire, in the stillness, in the ache. And now, the season of silent suffering is shifting. What was hidden is being revealed. What was heavy is being lifted. What was confusing is being clarified. I'm not answering your pain with quick fixes, I'm answering it with destiny. A destiny that couldn't have emerged without what you've been through. And while others only saw your struggle, I saw your resilience. I saw the way you got up even when you had no strength left. I saw you worship with tears streaming down your face. I saw you choose faith when fear was choking your voice. And that courage didn't go unnoticed. It moved me. And now I'm moving for you. What I reveal next will begin to make sense of what didn't add up before. So stay open. Stay present. Because your tears spoke a language that heaven understood, and now I'm responding with a plan greater than the pain that provoked them. You've been exhausting yourself trying to strategize your way out of what you were meant to surrender. You've tried fixing it from every angle, thinking, analyzing, adjusting, pushing. You've written and rewritten scenarios in your mind, trying to figure out how to make everything work faster, cleaner, or less painfully. But this isn't a puzzle to solve, it's a miracle unfolding. And the miracle doesn't need your logic, it needs your listening. Right now, what you require isn't another solution born from pressure, it's a word from me that breathes clarity into the fog you've been walking through. The answer is not hiding in your next plan. It's waiting inside my presence. And I'm already speaking, but the noise of striving has muted your ability to receive it. You've believed the lie that progress only happens when you're doing something. But there's a sacred shift that takes place when you stop forcing your way forward and start yielding to the movement I've already initiated on your behalf. This isn't about doing more. It's about tuning in. There's a miracle already set in motion that doesn't depend on your performance, it depends on your positioning. I've already dispatched what you've been praying for. The timing is aligning. The pavilion is moving. The doors are loosening. But if your focus is still caught in the whirlwind of what do I do next, you'll miss what's being sent straight to you. You see, Miracles rarely make sense on paper. They rarely follow patterns that human logic can track. That's because they are designed to reveal me, not you. If your plan worked perfectly every time, where would your need for me go? But because I love you too deeply to let you rely on your own strength, I've allowed your best ideas to pause, not to punish you, but to protect the space needed for my voice to lead. This miracle you're on the edge of isn't going to be the result of all your hard thinking. It's going to be the fruit of your obedience. Not to what you understand, but to what I'm whispering. Even now, I'm speaking specifics into your spirit. But they are subtle. They don't shout over your anxiety. They flow like peace. They come through nudges, scripture, moments of stillness you've been too distracted to notice. You don't need to craft a master plan. You need to clear the space for me to reveal what I've already authored. The pressure to control this is not yours to carry. You weren't meant to chase every opportunity, fix every broken thing, or map out every possibility. That's my role. Your role is to listen, trust, and move when I say now. And when I do, things will shift instantly, not because you forced it, but because you aligned with the sound of my voice. You remember how creation began. Not with action, but with a word. And my word still carries that same power today. One word from me can change the atmosphere around you. One whisper can open what fear said was locked. One instruction, even if it feels small, can lead you into something your biggest efforts could never unlock. So stop exhausting yourself with backup plans. Stop over-preparing out of fear. You're not being lazy by waiting, you're being wise. But don't confuse waiting with passivity. Waiting with me is the most powerful positioning you can ever take. Because when I speak, when my voice reaches your spirit, it won't just give you direction. It will ignite divine acceleration. You've been walking. You've been planting. Now I'm about to breathe. And when I do, what you thought would take years will begin to break open in days. Let me lead fully. Let me speak without interruption. Because what I say next will activate what no plan ever could. I know the doors that slammed shut felt like personal attacks. I saw the moments you stood there, stunned, wondering what you did wrong. You felt overlooked, discarded, passed by as if what you were believing for had been snatched away at the last moment. But I need you to see it differently now. Those closed opportunities weren't signs of failure, they were signals of my protection. I didn't reject you. I routed you. Because what was behind those doors couldn't hold what I placed inside you. If I had allowed you to enter them, you would have settled too soon. You would have adjusted to less and convinced yourself it was all you deserved. But I've called you higher. I've designed something that carries weight, depth, longevity, and to get there, I needed to make sure you didn't anchor yourself in the wrong places just because they were available. You've been praying for my will, but when my will removes what your heart was attached to, it feels like abandonment. It's not. It's precision. You asked me to lead you, so I am. But leading doesn't always feel like winning in a moment. Sometimes, it feels like losing what you thought was it, only to later realize it was a decree, a distraction dressed up like destiny. You've been looking at the past few months as setbacks, but what if I told you they were safeguards? What if every no was actually me clearing space for a deeper yes? I've been guiding you away from what would drain your energy, dull your passion, and deter your calling. You didn't fail. You were rescued. And now, as you're standing in this uncertain space, unsure of what's next, I'm inviting you to look up. Because forward is about to open. I'm lifting the veil that disappointment created. I'm pulling back the cloud of confusion that settled when your expectations weren't met. And I'm replacing it with vision. You see, redirection is only painful when you don't realize what's waiting around the corner. But I've seen it. I've prepared it. And it's not second best, it's sacred. What I have ahead for you will not require you to compromise who you are. You won't have to shrink to fit in. You won't have to convince someone of your worth. You won't have to battle to be chosen. What's coming will recognize you, because it was crafted with your name etched into it. The delay wasn't a denial. It was me removing what did align, And now I need you to release the grief attached to what didn't stay. Don't carry disappointment into the doorway of promise. Don't let old rejection poison new opportunities. I'm writing a new chapter, and it doesn't read like the last one. This time, you won't be striving, you'll be led. This time, you won't feel like an outsider, you'll be planted. This time, it won't be temporary, it'll be tailored. But before I open it, I need your agreement. I need you to stop mourning closed doors and start expecting me to move through unexpected ones. I need you to trust that just because it didn't go your way doesn't mean it went wrong. My thoughts are higher. My vision stretches further. And what I'm opening next will prove why I didn't let you settle for less than what I died to give you. So let go of what walked away. Release the fear of another rejection. Because where I'm taking you, you won't need to fight for access. I'm handing you keys. Get ready. What I reveal next will show you exactly why I said not there, so you can walk fully into here. You've walked through some days that made no sense. You faced walls that seemed to rise out of nowhere, leaving you questioning everything you once felt so certain about. And in that confusion, you began to wonder if I had stepped back, if I had stopped guiding, stopped speaking, stopped caring. But let me set the record straight right now. I've never left you for a moment. In fact, I've been the one sustaining you when you didn't even know you needed sustaining. I've been the invisible strength in the moments when your prayers had no words left, when your body moved forward, but your soul was weary. And now, I'm lifting the curtain. I'm drawing you close not just to comfort you, but to reveal what has been happening beneath the surface. You see, difficulty doesn't always mean distance. The battles you faced haven't been signs of absence, they've been signs of construction. While it looked like everything was falling apart, I was building something stronger, deeper, and more lasting inside of you. I didn't bring you this far to leave you wondering if I'm still involved. I brought you this far to prepare you to handle the weight of what comes next. And the resistance you've experienced has not been punishment, it's been pressure applied with purpose. The tension you felt in this season was meant to stretch your spiritual muscles, to increase your awareness, and to sharpen your discernment. Because where I'm taking you, you can't afford to depend on shallow faith or temporary emotion. You need rooted vision. You need ears trained to recognize my whisper, not just my wonders. And that's why it's been so hard. Because I've been refining you not for survival, but for leadership. I've been chiseling away what couldn't come with you, even if it once made you feel strong. I've been stripping off the layers of self-reliance and teaching you to rest in a power not your own. You haven't been failing, you've been forming. And what's forming is more than just resilience, it's revelation. Soon you will see the wisdom in every delay. You'll recognize the mercy in every detour. You'll realize the moments you labeled as wasted were actually sacred pivots meant to align you with something higher than your plans. This isn't chaos. It's craftsmanship. And you are not drifting, you're being directed. That's why I need you to stop interpreting hardship as abandonment. Instead, begin to see it as divine preparation. Begin to understand that I don't invest this much into someone I don't intend to use powerfully. The weight of this season proves the worth of the next one. And yes, it's been stretching. Yes, you've cried more than you expected. But child, you've also grown in ways you haven't yet noticed. You've learned to depend on my voice instead of outcomes. You've discovered peace in places you once panicked. You've learned to stay when running would have been easier. And all of that, it matters. It's proof that my spirit has been working in you all along. Now, as we move forward, I want to show you something, the bigger picture. I want to take you above the confusion and let you see what's really been happening from my perspective. You'll understand soon. You'll look back and say, that's why it didn't work. That's why they left. That's why I had to wait. Every piece will fit. But for now, trust the process even when it's still unclear. I'm not asking you to figure it out, I'm asking you to walk with me while I finish what I started. And what I'm going to reveal next will finally give your pain a name, purpose. This next door won't come packaged the way you imagine. It won't look like what you've been rehearsing in your mind, and that's exactly why I need your attention to be fully mine. You've been expecting the answer to look familiar, to resemble something you've seen before, something predictable, something that fits your mental image of breakthrough. But I'm not limited to the blueprint of your past experiences. I don't repeat miracles the same way. I reveal my glory in ways that expand your understanding of what's possible. And what I'm preparing to open for you isn't just a blessing, it's a pivot point. A shift so profound it will make sense of why I asked you to wait, why I closed the last few doors, and why I told you to hold your position when everything in you wanted to move ahead. But there's a catch. Your response to this next move must be immediate, and it must be total. No hesitation. No half-hearted obedience. What I'm unlocking won't be accessible through logic or comfort, it will be accessed through surrender. You won't understand it fully at first. It won't all make sense right away. But if you trust me and follow where I lead, you will enter into a flow of favor and alignment that outpaces everything you thought was delayed. I need you ready, not just emotionally, but spiritually. Ready to shift when I say go. Ready to leave behind things that once felt essential. Ready to walk into something you didn't ask for but will later thank me for. The opening will not announce itself with flashing lights. It will look ordinary to most, but to the listening heart, it will be unmistakable. It will come in the form of an invitation others will overlook. It may feel too simple to be supernatural, but that's how I work. I hide the extraordinary inside the humble, the divine inside the unexpected. You're going to be tempted to analyze it, to question, can this really be it? But I'm asking you to move by faith, not by familiarity. Obedience is the key. Not convenience, not consensus, just obedience. You won't have time to consult everyone. You won't be able to carry every opinion with you. What I'm opening will require you to choose quickly and walk boldly. And I will confirm it with peace, not perfection. Don't look for all the pieces to align before you move. Watch for my presence. Watch for the internal stillness that tells you I'm in it. And when it comes, move. Even if it's scary. Even if it requires you to leave behind something good for something greater. Even if it doesn't check every box but it stirs something deep within your spirit. This will be a doorway that activates destiny. A divine setup that doesn't just bless you, it positions you for long-term transformation. But it won't wait forever. This moment will pass if ignored. So I'm warning you in love. Don't delay. Don't talk yourself out of it. Don't miss it because it didn't look the way you expected. I've been shaping your spirit to recognize what others will miss. And now it's time to trust that process. You asked me to make a way. I am. But you must be ready to walk through it on my terms, not yours. The cost of obedience is real, but so is the reward. And what I reveal next will unfold blessings that generations after you will benefit from. I know what it feels like to be surrounded by pressure. You feel the ticking clock of the world's expectations. You sense the urgency from all sides, deadlines, timelines, and whispered threats from the enemy that say, you're running out of time. You've missed it. It's too late. That voice is persistent, relentless, trying to convince you to rush into things I haven't blessed, trying to panic you into decisions that bypass my presence. But hear me, that is not my voice. That is a counterfeit countdown designed to drown out your confidence. The enemy knows he can't stop what I've planned for you, so instead, he tries to accelerate your fear. He wants to rush you out of alignment, get you to make moves birthed from anxiety instead of direction. He hisses in your ear, if you don't act now, you'll lose everything. But I am the author of time. I do not operate on the ticking of earthly clocks. I don't need the calendar's permission to fulfill what I promised. I'm not late. I'm not slow. I'm exact. Every moment I've withheld something from you, I've done it with a reason. Not to deny you, but to develop you. Not to frustrate you, but to fit you for the very thing you've been asking for. I've seen the internal panic when you compare your life to those around you. I've seen the spiral of thoughts saying you should be further, faster, stronger by now. But that's not the truth. That's pressure. And pressure is not your master. I am. And my timing is sovereign. It doesn't bend to fear. It doesn't accelerate for popularity. It unfolds when everything, including your heart, is ready. So here's what I need you to do. Silence the noise. Turn down the volume of fear and lean into what I've been whispering beneath the chaos. The reason you've been feeling torn is because you're tuning into multiple voices. And where confusion thrives, clarity cannot settle. But if you let me have your focus, just for a moment, I'll reveal what's real. I'll show you how my timing has been right all along. That relationship that didn't happen when you wanted it to. There's a reason. A job that didn't come through yet. I've got the full view, and I'm holding back what you would have later regretted. But door you're trying to force open because everyone says it's now or never. Child, they don't know what I'm planning. They're not writing your story. I am. And I'm not pressured by the same urgency that's trying to steal your peace. You're not behind. You're not late. You're not forgotten. You're being synchronized with heaven's design, and heaven doesn't panic. I want you to live from my pace, not the enemy's stopwatch. The enemy's goal is to rush you into something unstable so he can mock you in it later. But I'm rescuing you from that trap. I'm bringing you back into rhythm, into divine cadence. Because when you move at my pace, you won't just arrive, you'll arrive prepared. And everything I've stored up will meet you on time, in season, without sorrow added. So breathe. Stay still long enough to hear again. Not what others are shouting, but what I'm saying. I'm not rushed, and you don't have to be either. Because what I do next will come with peace that won't require panic, proof that won't require striving, and timing that will leave no room for doubt. What you went through didn't only break you, it taught you. It refined you in ways no comfortable moment ever could. And I need you to understand, I'm not merely restoring what was damaged. I'm doing something much greater. I'm handing you the tools that were forged through the fire, the discernment, the insight, the spiritual depth you couldn't have gained any other way. This isn't just about repair, it's about readiness. Because where I'm sending you next requires more than healing, it requires the authority of someone who has survived the storm and came out stronger, not bitter. You're being equipped not with weapons of flesh, but with spiritual clarity, emotional resilience, and wisdom that carries weight. You don't realize it yet, but everything you've endured has carved something eternal into you. The sleepless nights, the inner wars, the things you never told anyone, those were your classrooms. And I was the teacher, not distant, but present, even when it felt like silence. I was pouring instruction into you even through the ache. And now, as I begin to restore what was broken, I'm not sending you back into life as you were, I'm releasing you as someone more whole, more aware, and far more dangerous to the kingdom of darkness than you've ever been. Because now, you don't just carry faith, you carry perspective. You carry revelation. You understand things differently. You see through motives quicker. You spot deception faster. You feel when my spirit moves, and you recognize when it doesn't. That's wisdom. And it came at a cost, but it's yours now. And I'm going to use it. You'll walk into rooms and sense things no one else does. You'll hear what's not being said. You'll recognize patterns that others overlook. That's not paranoia, that's the insight I've developed in the dark places. You're not just a healed version of yourself, you're becoming a vessel of discernment, an anchor in places where others drift. And what's more, I'm placing you in situations where that wisdom will be necessary. You're about to speak into moments that demand truth, clarity, and boldness. And you will do it not from ego, but from experience. Not because you memorized something, but because you lived through it with me. And because of that, your words will carry power, not noise, not empty comfort, but real authority. You've asked me, why did I have to go through so much? And here is your answer. Because what I'm entrusting you with couldn't be handed to someone untested. I don't build on shallow foundations. I build on those who have stayed when it was hard, who listened when it was quiet, who stood when it was easier to run. That's you. That's why I kept you. That's why you're still here. Because I knew what you would become if I walked with you through the hardest parts. You didn't just survive, you grew. And now you're carrying keys for others. The very places where you bled are now the places where others will find healing through you. You'll speak their language, not because you studied it, but because you live it. You'll be a voice they trust because they'll see the authenticity in your eyes. You'll carry the weight of wisdom in rooms where shallow answers no longer work. I didn't allow what hurt you to have the final word. I'm using it to write a new one. And this next part of your life will prove that. Because I'm not just bringing you into restoration, I'm releasing you into influence. And what I say next will prepare you for the platform you never expected, but were always being prepared for. There have been times when the silence convinced you that I had turned away, when the prayers felt unanswered, and the presence you once felt so clearly seemed distant. You asked yourself, where did he go? You thought maybe you had done something wrong, that you were being punished, forgotten, or bypassed. But what you couldn't see, what I need you to see now, is that I never left you. Not for a second. I was there in the stillness. I was hidden in the waiting. I wasn't punishing you. I was pulling you closer, even if it didn't feel like it. You weren't abandoned, you were being aligned. Aligned with my timing. Aligned with my truth. Aligned with my voice that doesn't compete for attention but waits patiently for surrender. You were never lost to me. Even when you couldn't find your way, I never lost sight of you. And everything you've walked through, every delay, every detour, every seemingly unanswered prayer was leading you here, to this very moment where I could finally have your full attention. You see, there are conversations I've longed to have with you. Conversations not just about where you're going, but about who you are. But the noise had to quiet. The striving had to pause. The illusion that you had to keep it all together had to break. And now, finally, you're still enough to hear me clearly. You're not chasing answers anymore, you're ready for revelation. And that's what I'm giving you right now. I didn't position you for punishment, I positioned you for encounter. I've been drawing you through valleys, not to keep you low, but to teach you how to hear me at ground level, where my voice isn't drowned out by applause or external validation. Because the depth I've been growing in you was never meant to be built on the mountaintop. It was meant to be built in the places where no one else applauded, where no one else noticed, but where I was whispering the blueprints of what's coming. I allowed space around you so you could find that I am enough even when you feel like you have nothing left. I led you through seasons of isolation, not to make you feel unwanted, but to separate you from the lies you didn't realize you were living under. It wasn't abandonment, it was preservation. I've been preparing the soil of your heart for a kind of intimacy that goes deeper than blessings, deeper than platforms, deeper than outcomes. I've wanted you. Not your performance. Not your perfection. Just you, real, raw, broken open, and finally available. That's who I've been waiting to talk to. And that's why this moment matters. Because now you're ready to hear what couldn't be heard before. You're no longer hearing me through filters of fear or pride or urgency. You're hearing me through surrender. And in this surrendered state, I can show you things I had to withhold until now, not because I was cruel, but because I'm wise. There are truths too weighty to reveal to someone still trying to earn my love. But you're past that now. You're beginning to see that I chose you before you ever said yes. That I've been chasing you with goodness even when you were running with doubt. And now that we're face to face in this divine moment, I want to make something clear. Nothing was wasted. Not the delay. Not the detour. Not the heartbreak. All of it brought you to me, and all of it will be used by me. So lift your head. Shake off the shame. Let go of the lie that you were ever alone. Because what I'm about to speak next will begin to restore every place you thought had been permanently left behind. There are people you tried so hard to hold on to. People you love deeply. People you trusted with your story. You envisioned them standing beside you in the future I promised. You made room in your heart and plans, thinking surely they were part of what I was building. But over time, They drifted. Some left quietly. Some exited in chaos. And some are still physically near but spiritually disconnected from your purpose. I know it hurt. I know it made you question your worth, your discernment, even my faithfulness. But I need you to hear this now, clearly and without hesitation. Their absence is not your failure. It's my protection. What I'm constructing in your life isn't ordinary, and not everyone has the capacity to walk with someone carrying the kind of anointing I've placed inside you. Where I'm taking you requires loyalty that isn't shaken by process, vision that isn't clouded by insecurity, and humility that celebrates without competition. Not everyone can handle that atmosphere. And because I see ahead, because I see how every detail will unfold, I allowed some connections to fade. Not to punish you, but to preserve the sacred assignment I've given you. If they stayed, they would have distracted you. If they stayed, they would have demanded pieces of you I need reserved for what's next. Some would have tried to redefine your identity through the lens of their own limitations. Others would have tried to keep you planted in past seasons, unwilling to accept the elevation that was already happening inside you. At tension, you felt the quiet pulling away, the resistance, the distance that couldn't be explained was a sign, a holy indication that your paths were no longer aligned. And instead of forcing what I was releasing, I needed you to trust that letting go was also an act of obedience. I know it felt like rejection. I know it felt unfair. But if you saw what I see, the hidden motives, the future conflict, the spiritual incompatibility, you would thank me for closing the doors I did. I never remove something without the intention of replacing it with what aligns with your future. And yes, I will send new people, those who love you without agenda, who carry vision without rivalry, who pour without draining. You haven't lost companionship forever. You've simply outgrown relationships that were meant for who you were, not who you're becoming. And that's not pride, it's process. Spiritual growth demands new community. Destiny requires divine alignment. And the version of you that's emerging will only flourish in atmospheres that nourish and not suffocate what I've planted. Stop apologizing for what I've pruned. Stop mourning connections I severed to protect your capacity. You're not too much, you were simply in a place that couldn't hold what I was expanding. Let me fill the empty spaces. Let me surround you with those who see the real you, the you I see when I look at you. People who will speak life, not jealousy. Who will stand by you in storms and not flee when the winds get loud. They are coming. But first, I had to clear the space. First, I had to gently remove what you were clinging to so I could place what will truly sustain you. I know it was painful, but it was necessary. And you'll soon look back and understand why I had to be so firm. You'll see how light you feel walking forward without carrying the weight of relationships I never asked you to carry that far. So don't resist the release. What's coming is greater. And what I show you next will begin to heal the part of you that thought being left meant you were unlovable, because nothing could be further from the truth. You've mourned over things that felt like they were taken from you too soon, opportunities that vanished, relationships that crumbled, doors that looked wide open and then slammed shut without warning. I know how your heart aches over what could have been, how you still carry questions like echoes. What if I had tried harder? Was that my only chance? Why would God allow it to slip through my fingers like that? You've cried over it, analyzed it, tried to piece it back together in your mind. But I need you to pause here and let me speak the truth. Your grief has been too loud to hear. Nothing you surrendered to me is ever truly lost. Nothing you placed in my hands was discarded. It was planted. And seeds don't look like harvest when they go into the ground. They look buried. But I'm the God who multiplies what looks finished. I'm the Redeemer who resurrects what you thought was over. And I'm telling you now, what you released, what you thought you'd never see again, is not gone. It's growing. Quietly. Powerfully. Out of sight, but not out of purpose. You think you're further away from it now, but in truth, you're closer than you've ever been. Because I haven't forgotten what you let go of in faith. I saw the private wrestle. I saw how hard it was to loosen your grip. I saw you walk away from what your flesh wanted to cling to. And that obedience moved me more than you know. You didn't just lose, child, you sowed. And what you sowed in tears, you will reap in joy. But what's coming isn't just a restoration of what you had. It's a multiplication of what you were willing to entrust to me. I'm not giving you back the same version. I'm giving you back something refined, increased, and more aligned with the purpose I've had over your life since the beginning. That relationship you thought was your only shot at love. I've got one prepared that will honor me, respect your heart, and nourish your soul. That dream you thought had expired, I've preserved it for the right moment when it will no longer be a weight, but a weapon in your hand. That opportunity that disappeared just when you felt ready. It's because I'm preparing one that fits your identity, not just your ambition. But here's what I need from you now: trust. Not passive belief, but active, living trust that says, even when I don't see it coming together, I still know He's working. You can't walk into multiplied blessing with a scarcity mindset. You can't carry fear into a field meant for harvest. I'm doing something so new, so abundant, so tailor-made for you, that if you don't clear the grief from your vision, you'll miss it when it arrives. I don't want you to be so fixated on what didn't return that you fail to recognize what I'm sending that's far better. Stop rehearsing the loss. Start preparing for the gain. Your faith didn't go unnoticed. It went ahead of you to prepare the next chapter. And now it's returning, pressed down, shaken together, running over. But you must be ready to receive it, not with caution, but with confidence. Because I'm not just returning what you lost. I'm upgrading it, elevating it, doubling it in purpose, in peace, in purity. And it's not far off, it's already on its way. Address must come first. Because what I do next will not only make sense of what was taken, it will show you what can only be given by a God who multiplies what was willingly surrendered. There's been a pressure you couldn't explain, tension that didn't match your circumstances, exhaustion that felt deeper than physical, opposition that seemed to rise no matter how still you tried to be. And you've asked yourself, what did I do wrong? You've questioned if it was something in you that brought this on. Maybe you weren't strong enough, pure enough, faithful enough. But I need to silence that lie right now. You're not under attack because you're failing. You're under attack because you're chosen. Because the weight of what I've placed within you has made you a threat in the unseen realm. The enemy saw your potential before you did. He recognized the authority I've deposited in your voice, the purity in your intentions, the danger in your obedience. And he's been trying everything to distract, confuse, isolate, and wear you down, not because you're weak, but because you're powerful. That's why the warfare has been strategic. It's hit where it hurts. It's tried to make you doubt what I've already confirmed. It's whispered lies at your lowest, telling you that nothing is changing, that your prayers are powerless, that your life doesn't matter. But listen to me, child, those whispers are an indicator of impact. Hell doesn't waste resources on someone who poses no risk. The very fact that the pressure has increased means that your anointing is close to being released on another level. And the enemy is scared. He's terrified that you will wake up to who you are, that you will realize the authority you carry when you pray, that you will remember that heaven is backing you, angels are assigned to you, and the spirit within you cannot be overcome. That's why the attack didn't come before. It came right when you were gaining momentum, when your spiritual ears started opening, when you began aligning your will to mine in deeper ways. Because the enemy can sense movement. He knows when a shift is coming. And so he throws distraction, discouragement, even temptation to try to pull you out of alignment. But here's what he didn't count on: your endurance. Your refusal to let go even when the answers didn't come quickly. Your persistence in worship even when your heart was breaking. Your willingness to still believe in me when nothing around you made sense. That kind of faith is dangerous. And now, I'm stepping in not just to defend you, but to expose the real battle behind the scenes. This isn't just about stress. This isn't just about delays. This is spiritual warfare designed to keep you silent, passive, and misaligned. But I won't let that happen. I'm revealing the source so you can resist it with precision. I'm giving you discernment so you no longer fight shadows, but take authority over what's truly pressing against you. I'm arming you not with fear, but with fire. Fire in your praise. Fire in your worship. Fire in your clarity. Because once you know what's really been coming against you, you'll also realize what's waiting on the other side of this battle. There's a release coming, a spiritual unlocking of the very thing you've been carrying in seed form. That idea, that calling, that assignment. It's not random. It's real. And it's dangerous to darkness. That's why the pressure has been so heavy. But I'm lifting the veil now. I'm showing you what's really at stake so you stop drinking back and start standing tall. You're not crazy. You're not imagining things. You're under fire because you carry something holy. But you're not unarmed. You've got my spirit, my word, my authority, and that's more than enough. This next season requires a version of you that no longer apologizes for your power. So take a breath, child. Realign your vision. What I reveal next will not only expose the root of the battle, it will equip you to win it. You've been surrounded by options, by opportunities that seem appealing on the outside. Some even feel like answered prayers. They've shown up at the exact moment you felt most ready for a breakthrough. But listen closely. Not everything that glitters is gold, and not every open door is from my hand. I'm stepping in now because I see what you can. I see beyond the polished surface. I see the unseen motives. I see the hidden compromise. I see the spiritual cost buried beneath the comfort. And because I love you too deeply to let you settle for imitation blessings, I'm removing what was never meant to stay. You might feel confused. You might even feel disappointed when something you hoped for begins to unravel, or when what you thought would last is suddenly taken out of your hands. But I need you to trust that what I'm doing is not sabotage. It's salvation. I'm protecting your spirit, your purpose, and your future. Some of what's been surrounding you carry subtle traps, distractions that look like direction, attachments that disguise themselves as alignment, people who seem supportive but silently carry envy, motives that mimic purpose but are rooted in pride. And because you've grown, because your sensitivity to my voice is increasing, I won't let those things follow you into your next level. This isn't punishment. This is pruning. I'm cutting off branches that bear no fruit, even if they once felt like shelter. I'm severing ties to opportunities that would have pulled you out of position. You didn't see it yet, but if they stayed, your focus would have drifted, your passion would have been diluted, and your discernment would have dulled. I know how hard it is to let go of things you thought I gave you. But sometimes, I allow something to come into your life just long enough to teach you the difference between a temporary test and a lasting treasure. And now that you've learned the lesson, I'm taking it away not to leave you empty, but to make room for what's real, what's eternal, what's truly for me. Don't cling to what I'm cleaning out. Don't mourn the loss of what I never meant to make permanent. You can trust me with your future, even when the present feels confusing. What I'm removing now, you will thank me for later. Because what I'm about to give you next will require you to guess. It won't come with conditions that conflict with your peace. It won't feel unstable beneath your feet. What I send will align completely with my word, with your identity, and with the path I've designed for you. You won't have to strive to keep it. You won't have to compromise to maintain it. What's real for me rests in peace. It carries confirmation without confusion. And it deepens your intimacy with me, not your dependency on others. So don't panic as things begin to shift. Don't assume you're going backward just because something is removed. You're not losing, you're being refined. The excess is being trimmed. The imitations are being swept away. The distractions are being silenced. And in the quiet that follows, you'll begin to see more clearly than ever. Your spirit will recognize the difference. Your heart will feel lighter. Your vision will sharpen. And you'll begin to say, "Thank you, Lord, for not giving me what I thought I needed." Because what's coming next will be undeniably mine. It will carry my signature. It will confirm my love. And it will make sense of why I had to step in and take away what was only meant to be temporary. What I say next will begin to prepare you for the pure, unstoppable flow of purpose I'm about to release. I know it's been hard not to take this season personally. When things fall apart, when people walk away, when progress slows to a crawl, the natural thought is, what did I do wrong? You've looked inward and questioned if I'm displeased with you, if maybe something you can't even name has provoked my silence or my distance. But hear me, child. This is not punishment. I'm not pushing you away. I'm not withholding my hand in anger. What you're walking through right now is not because I'm trying to break you, it's because I'm preparing to entrust you with more than you've ever carried. And before I elevate, I refine. Before I increase, I purify. Before I release the full measure of what I've promised, I ensure the foundation is deep enough to hold it. You've prayed for more clarity, more purpose, more influence. I heard you. I honored that prayer. But I cannot give more until you've been stretched to hold it. That's what's happening here. Not punishment. Cooperation. Not rejection. Reinforcement. I'm strengthening your roots so that when the blessing comes, it won't collapse under shallow ground. You see, there's a weight to calling, and it cannot be carried by someone still entangled in what they were meant to surrender. That's why this season has required release. That's why I've asked you to walk away from things that once felt essential. That's why some doors stayed shut no matter how hard you knocked, because I wasn't just protecting your heart. I was protecting your future. If I had allowed you to walk into certain rooms without the depth this season is cultivating in you, those same rooms would have drained your purpose and suffocated your spirit. But I won't let that happen. I love you too much. And so I've allowed discomfort not to harm you, but to shake you. Every delayed answer, every prolonged waiting period, every moment where you felt unseen has been part of my design. I haven't stopped watching. I've been overseeing the process with precision. You've been in the middle of my training, and now it's time you recognize it for what it truly is. I've been teaching you how to hear me above the noise, how to depend on me when you can't see the path, how to trust me not just with your lips but with your life. This kind of trust isn't born from ease, it's born from encounter. From nights where your faith had to fight for breath. From mornings where you chose obedience even with unanswered questions. That's where I've been molding your character. That's where I've been stretching your capacity. And now, you're emerging with something unshakable. A steadiness not rooted in emotion but in identity. A confidence that no applause or rejection can alter. I've been preparing you for what's bigger than what you asked for. And the preparation hath been painful, yes, but it's also been holy. So stop judging your journey by appearances. You're not off track, you're on assignment. And the pressure you've been under is proof that something powerful is about to break open. I've been carving space in you for something sacred. A role, a responsibility, a reach that impacts more than you. And I wouldn't have chosen you if I didn't already see you becoming the one who could carry it well. So breathe, child. You are not in a holding cell, you're in a holy process. I haven't forgotten what I promised. I'm simply getting you ready to receive it without compromise, without delay, without collapse. What I'm about to do next will prove that the wilderness wasn't a detour, it was a blueprint. And you'll look back and realize it was never punishment. It was promotion in disguise. There's a window opening, a moment in time that may feel ordinary on the outside, but is saturated with eternal weight. What happens in the next 24 hours is not just about managing your schedule or making choices that seem small. It's about alignment. It's about agreement. It's about stepping into something that's been hovering, waiting for your spirit to be ready to receive it. You've been sensing a shift, even if you haven't been able to describe it. You felt a nudge in your heart, a tightening in your awareness, an urgency that has no name but it's real. That's my spirit alerting you, because something significant is coming into position, and what you do with the next moments will either accelerate what I'm trying to bring or delay it unnecessarily. I need your full focus, not frantic energy. not religious routine. Pure, undistracted attention. Because I'm giving you specific instructions. I'm dropping clarity like seeds into your spirit, and if you'll slow down and truly listen, you'll hear them. Don't let the noise of today drown out the whispers of destiny. This next phase doesn't require busyness, it requires sensitivity. I'm not asking you to figure everything out. I'm asking you to clear space so I can speak without interruption. I'm going to highlight something you've been overlooking. I'm going to give you a name, a prompt, a direction that won't make sense to your logic but will stir something unmistakable in your soul. And when it comes, move. Don't second guess it. Don't overthink it. Don't wait for 10 confirmations. The key to this next opening is instant obedience. You've prayed for me to act. I'm ready. But I need your cooperation, not hesitation. I need your posture to say yes before I even finish speaking. There's a divine sequence being set in motion, and I'm not just giving you breakthrough, I'm teaching you how to walk in divine rhythm. And divine rhythm always begins with surrender. Not the passive kind, but the active, wholehearted kind that says, whatever you ask, I'll do it. Because this is bigger than you. Your obedience today is setting up miracles for tomorrow, not just for your life, but for those connected to your assignment. The people you're called to reach, to influence, to bless, they're waiting on your yes. There are also traps laid along this 24-hour stretch, subtle distractions designed to feel urgent, but are actually detours. Conversations that would drain your energy. Decisions that look logical but lack my breath. I'm warning you in advance. Not everything that asks for your time is worthy of it. I'm giving you discernment. You'll know what to respond to and what to walk away from. Let peace be your compass. If it doesn't carry my presence, don't engage. If it doesn't increase your clarity, don't allow it in. This isn't about fear. It's about preparation. You're walking into a divine hinge point where things shift, not because of how loud you move, but because of how aligned your movement is with my voice. I'm going to show you something that seems small, an idea, a conversation, a task, but it holds the thread that pulls an entire promise into reality. Watch for it. It will carry the unmistakable weight of heaven. And when it comes, your spirit will recognize it. You've wondered, when will it happen? I'm telling you, it begins now. But not all at once. It begins with trust, then obedience, then release. I'm ready to act swiftly, but I'm building this on your willingness to follow, not your ability to understand. To pause. Recenter. Ask me again, what are you saying today, Lord? Because what I reveal in this short stretch of time will not only change your direction, it will mark the beginning of the very thing you thought would take years to reach. You've been walking with a weight around your soul that doesn't belong to you. You've been carrying shame that I never handed you, guilt from things you've repented for, responsibilities you were never meant to hold. Somewhere along the way, you picked up burdens disguised as obligation. You took on blame for things that were outside your control. You internalized others' pain, their reactions, their rejection, and made it about your worth. But child, that is not from me. I do not assign guilt as a lesson. I do not place shame on your shoulders to shape you. I convict to bring clarity. I correct to bring freedom. But what you've been dragging behind you isn't correction, it's condemnation, and it never had permission to follow you this long. I see how it shows up in your thoughts. The way you rehearse old conversations, wondering if you said too much or not enough. The way you over-explain yourself, trying to earn forgiveness for wounds you didn't cause. The way you pull back from opportunities because a quiet voice says you're unworthy, disqualified, broken beyond restoration. But none of those whispers come from my heart. Those are the accusations of a defeated enemy who wants you imprisoned by a past I already forgave. And today, I'm reaching into that invisible bag you carry, and I'm removing what was never yours to hold. You're not meant to live beneath the shadow of regret. You're not defined by what they said about you when they were hurt. You're not stained by the chapter you've already surrendered to me. My blood doesn't just cleanse, it cancels. And once I've declared you free, nothing in heaven or on earth has the authority to label you otherwise. But the prison door can remain shut if you keep believing you belong inside it. That's why I'm speaking now, because I want to shatter that illusion once and for all. You are forgiven. Fully. You are redeemed. Entirely. And I am not withholding peace from you. You're simply trying to earn what I already gave. Let me break that cycle of spiritual debt you've been trapped in. You do not have to work your way back into my grace. You don't need to keep apologizing for a wound I've already healed. You don't need to pay penance through performance, hoping someday you'll finally feel clean. I don't operate in transactions, I work in transformation. And right now, I'm inviting you to step out of the fog of false guilt and into the light of truth. My truth. The truth that says you are not too far gone. You are not a burden. You are not a disappointment. You are a masterpiece in progress, and every stroke of your journey, including the ones you wish you could erase, is part of a redemptive story that brings me glory. You are not your lowest moment. You are not the choice you made in confusion. You are not the version of yourself that others refuse to forgive. You are mine. I call you clean. I call you restored. And I'm replacing the soundtrack of accusation in your mind with a melody of grace. I'm speaking peace into the places that Pag has made its home. I'm silencing the echo of your mistakes with the louder voice of mercy. And from this moment forward, I want you to walk differently. I want you to stand taller, not from arrogance, but from freedom. There's work I've called you to. Assignments that require a heart unburdened by chains of shame. So let me take it now. All of it. Even the guilt you've buried so deep, you barely admit it exists. Hand it over. Not piece by piece, completely. I can carry it. I can crush it. And I can fill the empty place it leaves with confidence that only heaven can give. What I reveal next will not just remove your guilt, it will remind you of the authority you forgot you carried. There's been a quiet ache in you, a kind of invisible restraint that's kept you from speaking the way you were created to. You've learned how to stay quiet, not because you lack conviction, but because fear wrapped itself around your confidence. You swallowed your thoughts, not because they lacked truth, but because you've been wounded by the way others responded when you dared to be bold. You've convinced yourself that maybe your voice causes more harm than good, so silence became your safety. But I never designed you to disappear. I didn't place fire in your bones for you to keep it buried beneath politeness and fear of rejection. I gave you a voice for a reason, and I'm calling it back to life right now. The enemy has fought hard to silence you because your voice is a weapon. He knows that when you speak what I've placed inside you, strongholds begin to break. He knows that when your testimony leaves your lips, someone else finds the courage to keep going. That's why your battles haven't just been about what you do, they've been aimed at silencing who you are. Every time someone misunderstood your heart and dismissed your words, it chipped away at your willingness to share. But I saw every moment you chose to shrink back. I watched when you whispered truths in private that were meant to echo in rooms. I heard the times you said nothing, even though your spirit was screaming to say something. Now I say enough. No more silence where you were meant to be a sound. No more shrinking where you were meant to stand. I'm restoring not just your ability to speak, but the boldness to speak without apology. I'm healing the places in your soul where criticism left bruises. I'm breathing new breath into the places where your confidence was suffocated by shame. Because the world needs what I've placed inside of you. Not a version diluted by fear. Not a script rehearsed for approval. Your raw, honest, anointed voice formed in fire, shaped in surrender, soaked in truth. You're not being called to impress. You're being called to impact. And impact doesn't come from volume, it comes from authenticity. You don't need to shout to be heard in heaven. You don't need to compete with louder voices to be chosen. You need to open your mouth when I prompt you and trust that my spirit will do the rest. I will give you the words. I will guide the timing. I will protect the delivery. What matters is that you don't withhold what I've assigned to your voice. because someone's breakthrough is waiting on your obedience to speak. It might feel uncomfortable at first. You might stumble through your first few moments of courage. But keep speaking. Every time you choose truth over silence, your authority grows. Every time you share what I've whispered in the quiet, the enemy loses ground. And don't worry about those who still won't understand you. You weren't called to convince everyone, you were called to carry my sound. And those who carry my spirit will recognize it. They'll feel something shift when you speak, not because of eloquence, but because of anointing. I want you to prepare now, because I'm going to start placing you in rooms that require your voice. Not your perfection, not your performance. Your presence anchored in me. You'll be asked to say things that feel too heavy for someone like you, but you're not speaking alone. I will stand behind every word I lead you to release. I will cover your voice with my power, and what you speak in faith will leave residue, healing, conviction, clarity, restoration. This is your permission to speak again, to stop apologizing for your fire, to stop second-guessing your insight. I gave it to you on purpose. I gave it to you for a reason. And I'm not just returning your voice, I'm amplifying it. Because what I'm about to release for you isn't just words. It's deliverance in disguise. And what you speak next will unlock something divine in someone who's been waiting in silence for far too long. You can sense it already. The air around your life feels different. It's not just in your imagination. It's not anxiety. It's not restlessness. It's the movement of heaven rearranging the pieces you thought were stagnant. And while you've prayed for change, for doors to open and answers to fall into place, I need you to understand this next moment will not arrive quietly. It's coming with a force. It's coming with decisions. It's coming with divine interruption. And if your posture stays stuck in yesterday, you'll resist what you've actually been requesting. This is where alignment matters more than comfort. Because you're standing on the edge of acceleration, and I'm asking for a posture that matches what I'm about to pour out. There are things I'm about to bring that will require you to let go of the rhythm you've grown familiar with. Not because what you had was wrong, but because what's coming is weightier, faster, more precise. You've grown in discipline, and that pleased me. But now I need you to grow in agility. I need you to respond quickly, to flow with my spirit even when the direction changes mid-step. You're no longer in the season of slow building foundations. You're stepping into swift obedience and quick release. This is where many miss me, not because they don't love me, but because they try to hold on to a pace I've already outgrown. I am doing a new thing, and if you keep interpreting it through your old lens, you'll walk past what I prepared in front of you. This new flow requires flexibility. It requires the kind of trust that doesn't ask for the full picture before moving. I'm calling you to be sensitive not to your fears or your habits, but to my prompting. You'll feel moments where I ask you to pivot, relationships you will need to reassess, places you once went that no longer feel like home, things you used to tolerate that now disturb your peace. That's not confusion. That's clarity. I'm fine-tuning your spirit so you can discern without delay. And it's urgent that you don't ignore these nudges. They are not interruptions, they are instructions. Every shift in the spiritual atmosphere comes with opportunity and opposition. That's why I'm warning you now. Don't be surprised when the resistance shows up right beside the release. The enemy knows what's coming for you, even if you don't see it clearly yet. That's why distractions will increase. That's why some familiar voices will suddenly become critical or cold. That's why even your own mind will attempt to talk you out of what your spirit knows is divine. Don't fall for it. Stay anchored. I've trained your discernment for this very hour. Pay close attention to patterns that return in disguise. Cycles that seem healed but knock again. Delays that try to dress up as wisdom. You don't need to second-guess what I've already confirmed. You need to act in alignment with the truth I've planted in you. This is not the time to revisit what I already closed. This is not the time to reopen doors that kept you stuck. What I'm bringing now needs space. Mental space. Emotional space. Spiritual space. So if something feels like it's pressing against your peace, press pause and ask me. I will not confuse you. I will give you insight instantly when your posture is surrendered. Some people won't understand your sudden movement. They'll say you're changing too fast. They'll question the timing, the direction, the urgency. But they weren't in the secret place when I whispered this shift to you. They didn't see the blueprint I showed you in prayer. You don't need their permission to obey me. What matters is your agreement with my pace. Because when you step in rhythm with my spirit, you will find yourself in places that years of striving could never take you. So now I ask, will you shift with me? Will you trust that this acceleration is for your good? Will you release your grip on control so you can receive what can only be caught in movement? Because what's unfolding is time-sensitive. And if you stay where it's safe, you'll forfeit what I meant to unlock in your surrender. But if you move now, with me, you'll watch the very ground beneath you transform to match the magnitude of what I've planned. You've been searching for the dramatic, waiting for signs that shake the ground, moments that look divine at first glance. But I want you to slow down, because what I'm doing right now is embedded in the simple. It's wrapped in the ordinary, hidden in plain view. The next miracle won't come wrapped in lightning, it'll come disguised in something that looks like a small task, an unnoticed opportunity, a routine encounter. It's how I move when I'm building deep roots quietly, deliberately, without performance. But if you only look for the grand, you'll miss the sacred. I'm speaking through the silence. I'm moving through the mundane. I'm weaving supernatural outcomes through the fabric of daily life. And I need you to pay attention not just to what grabs your attention, but to what seems beneath your notice. There's a person I'm sending to you, not someone with titles or spotlight, but someone with a key. They carry something for you, not in their hand, but in their presence. You won't recognize it unless your heart is positioned in humility. This is why I keep training your eyes to see beyond the surface, to listen beneath the words, to value presence over presentation. Some of my greatest moves begin in back rooms, in whispered prayers, in the unnoticed gestures of obedience. The crowd didn't see me when I chose a manger. The world didn't recognize the Savior in carpenter's clothes. Don't let the lack of attention make you assume I'm absent. Often my most glorious work is born in hidden places. I've watched you dismiss things as too small: an idea, a conversation, an invitation. But what looks small in your hand has limitless weight in mine. I don't need scale to move mountains. I only need your trust. There's a seed I placed in your spirit, a vision, a thought, a stirring, and though you've doubted its significance, it hasn't left you. That's on purpose. It keeps returning not because it's stubborn, but because it's sacred. What you call a spark is actually a flame I've preserved, and I'm ready to fan it if you'll take it seriously. You don't need more confirmation. You need to recognize what you already carry is not accidental, it's strategic. I'm not asking you to build something massive overnight. I'm asking you to treat the small with reverence. The way you handle the small things reveals your readiness for more. Can I trust you to honor what seems unimpressive? Can I trust you to speak life over what hasn't bloomed yet? The field is yours, but the harvest will depend on how you tend what doesn't yet look like much. I'm calling you to look again. The situation you call a distraction may be the very path to your breakthrough. That person you overlooked may be your destiny connection. That routine you keep wishing away might be the training ground for the next assignment. It's not about the size, it's about the source. If I breathe on something, no matter how small, it carries eternal purpose. Remember the boy's lunch: 5 loaves and 2 fish. In the hands of man, it was insufficient. In my hands, it fed multitudes. What makes the difference is not the quantity, it's the surrender. Will you offer me what feels unimpressive to you? Will you stop measuring what I've given you against what others carry? You are not called to copy. You are called to cultivate. And I'm watching how you handle the hidden before I reveal the harvest. You keep asking, when will the big thing come? And I keep answering, what have you done with the small thing I already gave you? That's where the shift happens. Not when the world claps, but when you obey in silence. That's where the next chapter begins, at the intersection of unnoticed faithfulness and my sovereign timing. And I promise you this: nothing you've done in obedience, even when it felt unseen, has gone unnoticed in heaven. I saw it. I receive it. And I'm multiplying it in ways you can't yet imagine. So take one more look. Because the answer you've been waiting for might already be in your hands, it just hasn't looked big enough to recognize it. You've cried over doors that didn't open. You've wrestled with the silence, questioning if I heard you, if I cared, if I changed my mind about the promises I whispered to you. And while you were waiting, I was working, not just on the path ahead, but on the strength within you. Because what I have prepared for you is not fragile, and neither can you be. I didn't delay because you were unworthy. I delayed because I was filling you with what you need for the weight of what's next. It would have crushed you then. But now you're rising with endurance where there was once anxiety. Now you can discern with clarity what used to confuse you. That's not punishment, that's promotion in process. I know the timeline you had in your mind. I saw the calendar you created, the age you wanted to reach certain milestones, the months you counted on your fingers as if they could measure the depth of my design. But I'm not bound by human clocks. I move according to fullness. And there were things in you that needed to mature, not because you were flawed, but because the beauty of what I'm doing requires roots, not just results. The world applauds fast growth, but I honor deep growth. I chose to develop your inner life before expanding your outer influence. And though it's felt like stillness, I assure you I've been building while you've been waiting. There's a wisdom now that couldn't be rushed. There's a discernment that can't be taught in books or acquired through shortcuts. You've learned to recognize my voice in the dark. You've learned to stand still when panic tried to move you. You've learned the language of stillness, the posture of surrender, and the rhythm of walking with me when the path made no sense. Those are not small things, they are the foundations of the next dimension I'm taking you into. Without them, you would have mistaken noise for opportunity, flattery for favor, and movement for progress. But now you know better. I'm not just releasing what you prayed for, I'm releasing it through a version of you that can steward it well. And that's where the glory is. Because I didn't allow the wait to waste you. I allowed it to shape you. The delay refined your motives. The delay revealed your endurance. The delay removed the dependencies that were never meant to travel with you into this new space. You lost some relationships in the delay. You let go of old habits. You buried some things you thought you needed. And though you cried over every one of them, I want you to look back and see it. You've come out lighter. Freer. Clear. More focused. And that's what I was after. And now, things will begin to move. Not because you forced them. Not because you begged for them. But because the timing aligns with my release. The dam is breaking. The doors are swinging. The phone calls will start. The confirmations will line up. But this time you won't rush to grab it. You'll walk in calm. You'll carry peace. You'll make decisions from overflow, not desperation. That's how you'll know it's me. Because I'm not just giving you the answer. I'm making you the kind of person who knows what to do with it when it arrives. And I need you to be ready, not panicked, not overwhelmed, but anchored. Don't let the speed of what's about to unfold make you forget the depth of who you've become. Because the world will see your rise, but I see your roots. The hidden days of tears, silence, obedience, and growth, I saw all of it. And I've written it into the reward that's coming. You won't just walk through one open door. You'll step into a divine sequence timed with precision, orchestrated with heaven's hand, and wrapped in glory. And when it comes, you'll understand why I waited, because I love you too much to send you unprepared into something I've called you to reign in. You've asked me countless times, why did that happen? Why didn't you stop it? Why wasn't I warned? Your mind has searched for logic, for patterns, for understanding that could quiet your heart. But not every answer comes in words. Some answers are lived. Some answers can't be given until you've grown into the place that can hold their full weight. You see, There were moments I deliberately held back the why, not to keep you in the dark, but to keep you moving in the light. If I had told you everything up front, you might have tried to avoid the process. You might have skipped the lesson, or even resisted the blessing that came in a form you didn't expect. I'm not hiding truth from you, I'm revealing it in stages. Because real transformation doesn't happen through information. It happens through intimacy with me while you walk through the unknown. I know how uncomfortable that feels. I know you want clarity, assurance, and foresight. But I also know how clarity can become a crutch if it replaces trust. You've asked me for detailed instructions, but I've given you daily bread. You've wanted the full roadmap, but I've offered a lamp to your feet. That's not withholding, that's protection. Because if you sought everything all at once, you'd try to control it. You'd overthink it. You'd begin to rely on your logic instead of leaning on my voice. And I'm not building a robotic follower, I'm forming a child who can walk by faith and not by sight. There were battles I let you face without explanation because what you gained in that tension, resilience, authority, discernment couldn't be given through comfort. Pain taught you what peace really is. Disappointment revealed how deeply you need me. Delay exposed the layers of pride you didn't know you carried. I used every unanswered moment to carve your character, not your comfort. Because I'm preparing you not just to walk in promise, but to carry power with integrity. And that kind of maturity is only born through pressing into me when you don't have all the answers. I never wasted a single tear. Not one silent scream. Not one moment where you felt like I wasn't speaking. I was there training your spiritual ear to recognize me beyond emotion. I was there shaping your capacity to endure when the path made no sense. I was there letting some doors remain closed because the room behind them would have suffocated your calling. You didn't see it, but every no was a safe word. Every delay was a divine recalibration. Every lonely night was a deeper invitation to know me, not just as provider or healer, but as friend, as father, as the one who sits with you in the unexplainable. And now, as you stand here more refined than before, can you see the fruit of those unanswered questions? Look at the strength in your voice, the wisdom in your discernment, the depth in your compassion. These did come from ease. They came from endurance. And what's more beautiful, they made room for revelations you weren't even asking for. You gained insight that textbooks can't teach. You gained depth that sermons alone can't impart. And all of it came from walking with me when the way didn't make sense. Soon, I'll begin to reveal the reasons. Not all at once, but enough to make your heart sigh with understanding. Some answers will come through hindsight. Some will arrive wrapped in joy. Others you will carry into eternity, where the full picture will be unveiled. But for now, I'm asking you to remain anchored even when the dots haven't yet connected. Stay close. Stay soft. Stay yielded. Because your story is still unfolding, and what looks like mystery today will be your ministry tomorrow. I am not silent, I am sovereign. I am not absent, I am intentional. And when it's time, the pieces will come together not just to explain what happened, but to glorify what I built in you when you didn't even know I was still writing. Amen.